Hi guys, welcome back to another special episode of This Is What I Do. Today's episode is all things Formula 1 and motorsports with a special guest, Lufefe Mayekiso, who is the presenter and founder of South Africa's leading Formula 1 channel, Motorza TV. Motorza TV. He's also doing a lot of MC work in the sports space, and he's also doing a lot of voiceovers. And he's here to talk to me about his journey. Lufefe, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Are you good?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Disclaimer, I know nothing. I did warn you. I know nothing. I usually know a bit about every sport, but hey, today, with the me guy.
No, I'm here for that.
Yeah,
no stress.
enlighten us. But let me start you off with a young icebreaker.
Okay.
You look like you think you have some wild thoughts, so you deserve this one. And I expect a good answer from you.
Okay, go for it.
Are you ready?
I was born ready.
What conspiracy theory do you believe in? Like shit that you think about and you're like, this could actually be the truth. Ooh. Have you ever thought? Do you think about conspiracy theories?
I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist.
No, you don't have to be one, but you know, people are talking in the world. Which one you just think about and you're like...
The Illuminati.
What's your thoughts on that?
That there are people in the world that are remote controlling what happens.
Running things behind the scenes.
I believe in that as well.
I want to add to that because mine is, I read somewhere, okay, not read, you know, TikTok, you feel like you are reading when you're watching. So I saw something about cloning.
Okay, cloning people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of it was directed at Kanye West. That sometimes, besides the bipolar, but his behavior. And there's now a conspiracy that Kobe Bryant was actually cloned.
When? Before or after?
So there's a guy who's now playing in the what's the sports?
NBA.
NBA. And he's like a bigger version of him, fitter, but he looks like him, he speaks like him, his mannerisms are like him. So there's things, and the more you listen, the more you're like, no man, God, I guess, but...
Do you know what I believe in with that? In reincarnation.
That's the word.
Yes.
That it's like a Kobe reincarnated.
Exactly.
So the Illuminati, is it a thing or a person or an organization? What is it? A spirit?
Apparently it's a family. And this family
runs things.
Yeah, runs the world. So they will recruit you when they see your potential. Maybe you're a special person.
And you are influential.
There you go. And then they will bring you into the inner circle.
To serve.
Yeah. And get the message out.
And you believe that?
They want. I do.
You
honestly.
See, you do believe it.
Yeah, I do, definitely. And with the reincarnation thing, just a quick example. Enzo Ferrari, the founder of Ferrari, he died in 1988. There's a German footballer called Mesut Ozil. He was born in 1988. So after the podcast, just Google those two and see. They look exactly the same.
Is it because people do look the same? What else is there? Is it the driving style? What else?
No,
they speak
just
the same?
way they look. They look like twins.
But it happens that people actually. I get it a lot that I look like many people out there in the world. I don't know, but when they show me these faces, I'm like, okay, I see it.
I've never seen anyone like you.
So you've never met anyone that looks exactly like you?
Apparently, Cyril Ramaphosa.
It's a lie. No, who said that?
A lot of people.
No.
You look like the president.
I'm looking at you and I don't see
So you see, it's not exactly the same. So, but Ozil and Enzo, you won't believe it.
Really? I will check it out. I'll check it out. How good are your driving skills? I'll tell you why I'm asking. So we're out on a night, you and I, and it's time to go home. Are we getting home or are we going to prison? Can you run away from the cops? How good are you?
I've run away from the cops more than I care to remember.
Did they catch you?
Sometimes.
So do you have like sick advanced driving skills?
Well, you know what? With driving, like many things, I can't be the one to say I'm a sick driver. It must be my passengers like, yeah, this guy can drive.
Is it?
But I've heard that.
But
a
how
couple
long
of
have you been
times.
driving? I know when you grow up,
Sheesh.
you've been driving. I've known you for a while. You've probably been driving since you were what?
12, 13?
12, 13?
Yes, I used to sit on a pillow because I wasn't
You
tall
were short.
enough. Yeah.
But you drove.
Yeah, I drove you.
So I'm getting home that day.
Yeah, definitely.
Sheesh.
I can tell you a story, the most dramatic one, when the cops chased me.
Where are we? Are we in the
Eastern
Cape?
Cape, yeah.
Cops don't chase us in the Eastern Cape, by the way.
Hey,
That was a
when they
special
caught
day.
me, I said to them, wow, they underestimate you guys because they say you guys don't do your work. I never thought you'd catch me.
Where are we in the Eastern
I was
Cape?
coming from East London, Welekinza,
Yeah.
from a wedding. Then we were going to another wedding in Kamakwe. Ne? So we flying
There's no even traffic.
in my friend's
No
GTI.
cameras. No cameras there.
No cameras. There was a fair amount of cars. So as we're driving to Moye Plus, there's always a camera there. And then they were standing there.
Waiting.
So I thought about stopping, but when I looked at the speed and I looked at the guy, I'm like, I'm going too fast. I think I was about 196.
What car was he in?
Yeah, nah? Some Chevy or something. I was in a GTI though.
I mean.
Then I was like, I'm not going to stop, but I
Yeah.
could see he's trying to analyze the number plate. Drive about 10 Ks as we're approaching Kai Bridge. And they told the guy in front, hey, look out for this red GTI coming. So when I get there, he's already waiting for me and he's like, stop, stop. And I was like, it's too late. But now we're running out of petrol. So I have to stop at Kai Bridge. Get to Kai Bridge, stop, and I'm like, 300 fast. The cops are chasing me. Petrol turns like, huh? Why are they chasing you? And we dressed in suits and stuff. Then he fills up. As I drive out, the second guy, the one who was expecting me already, is driving in and he sees me. I drive around him. Up, Kai.
But you wouldn't be able to do that here because these guys are driving better cars than a GTI.
No, true.
So
True.
were you going to prison that day?
I've run away from some here as well. Successfully. Then when I get to Gundabagaz, it was like a Bad Boys movie. They'd closed the entire N2.
Are you kidding me?
No, they say they thought I was some criminal called
Hiding
Sakin
something
Bok.
about you in the boot or something.
Did I not drive around them? Then I went. Then I was like, okay, now this junction's the way I was going to turn, so I'm going to hide in one of these laddies. But they saw me, and then they came.
And you still got away with it?
Yo.
Shame.
I won't tell you how the story ended, but yes, I got away.
Your ancestors were with you that day.
Yeah.
Lufefe, for anyone who doesn't understand what F1 is and what motorsports is, how do you explain to people what it is that you do?
Okay, trick question. This is harder than the Illuminati.
Are you kidding me?
No,
This is why you are here. This question is the reason why you are here.
All right. So Formula 1 is the premier class of motorsports in terms of technology, the speed of the cars, and the level of drivers and teams, the investment that goes into it makes it the fastest sport in the world. Because those cars can go from 0 to 200 in like 4.5 seconds. So the thing about speed, your car can go 220, mine can go 220, but how quickly does it get there?
So what is it? Is it the driver and the engine and all of that?
Yes, it's a combination because there's like thousands of team members. These guys have factories back home, and then they have a team of like 50 mechanics that travel with them throughout the world. So Formula 1, it's a road show with a race in each country each year. So these guys will go from Austria to Britain to Spain to England or America. But unfortunately at this stage we don't have one here in Africa. And again, I'm here for that.
So what is it that you do in that space? You are you do have a podcast,
I do.
Motorza TV.
Yes.
What's happening there, and what's the impact in the sporting space with that platform?
So maybe let me start from the beginning. I've always been into sports. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah.
So I love
anything sports.
Anything sports, but 5 in particular: tennis, rugby, football, soccer, as we call it here in South Africa, F1, and
Weren't you playing
and
hockey
cricket.
at some point?
Yes, I was playing club hockey
you were
in
playing
grade 10.
hockey.
You're right. I did. So those 5 sports are my favorite. And before I became a YouTuber, I was a quantity surveyor, right? So what that is a cost engineer, an accountant in construction. So I was doing
I want you to hold on there because we're coming to that.
Oh, fair.
You're answering 2 questions.
Okay, so maybe let's recap on the question.
Recap on
Yes.
on what the role of you now. You've explained
Okay.
what Formula is now, but what's your role? What difference are you making in the space currently as Motorza and just as you individually?
Okay, so in my watching of Formula 1, there are a lot of commentators and punters and people who do observations.
Yeah.
What I found was when I listened to them, most of them, or some of the things that they say, I don't necessarily agree with it. So I then decided to be the mouthpiece of the African perspective of what's happening in the world of Formula 1.
Okay. And at that time, there isn't anyone that's doing that.
I don't think when I started, but now, there's a flurry of us now.
We do have Super Sport, so they weren't also touching on that?
Well, Super Sport, they would show, they obviously have the broadcasting rights from Sky Sports, who's the official F1 broadcaster, to showcase the races. But they don't have a engagement show like what we're doing now, where they'll talk about, what's happening before or after the race or in between races.
We have rugby matches and
Exactly.
soccer matches.
And that's apparently because, according to their agreement with Sky, they want to showcase the exact same content all around the world. So Sky Sports has all the rights of showcasing whatever.
So nothing tailor-made to South Africa's journey in the sport?
Not at this stage.
Okay.
There was a show on Super Sport some time ago, which was hosted by Sasha Martinengo and later Kriya. So that show was called Absolute F1. It would play on Wednesdays in between races. But 2 or 3 years ago, maybe even more, they stopped airing it, and then there's nothing now on Super Sport.
Okay. Wow. Because I'm trying to think F1, and when I think F1, I think Michael Schumacher, but I know I've never even watched a game in my life.
A race.
Yeah, sorry, a race.
Yes, people always say game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this starts off as a hobby, as an interest, and what happens in your life that makes you feel like I can build a career in this thing? Like, I want to follow this thing. The calling is calling.
It all started with a chat with my former roommate from varsity.
Yeah.
So one day we had a Chisanyama in Clayville and we're chatting. So he's a Manchester United supporter. I'm an Arsenal supporter. At that stage, I think Manchester had signed a player called Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And he was about 36 then. So I don't know if you follow Man United, but they used to be the greatest team when we were growing up.
Yeah, they used to.
And now they've declined. So Manchester United fans, some of them, they can't deal with the disappointment of not being the best.
They're still stuck in the past.
Exactly.
Former glory.
So, so anyway, Uzuko, this former roommate of mine, we're chatting. He's like, "Yeah, man, I don't watch them anymore." I'm like, "But now you guys just signed Zlatan." "Oh, no, he's old." Then I start singing Zlatan stats. Like, he won 12 leagues in 13 years in 4 different countries. And
to give him confidence.
And he's looking at me. I don't even think he heard a word I said. And he's like,
"How do you know all of this?"
"Tell me, what's the midterm financial plan for Group 5?" Which was Big 5, one of the Big 5 construction companies at the time. I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, WBHO? I don't know. He's like, you're doing
I
the
see where
wrong
he's
thing.
going with this.
Yeah.
I see where he's going.
And he was like, you're doing the wrong thing. You should be doing something in sports. So I went home to my then partner and I'm like, hey.
So you listened to him?
Yes.
You heard him?
Literally. And maybe at that point in my life, I was on the crossroads.
Yeah.
And then I went to my then partner, hey.
But this is you talking about football. You're not even talking about Formula 1.
Yes, and I'll get to how I chose Formula 1. So my partner's like, why don't you start a YouTube channel? I'm like, okay, fair, eh? Let me do that. Then I start researching it. But now there's these 5 sports. That's why I highlighted them at the beginning.
And you feel strongly with all 5?
Yeah. I've got a very good memory. So most things, for things that I like and I'm interested in, I'll probably never forget.
You research?
I research. I read a lot. Even Formula 1. We'll talk about how I got into it. But I don't want to get sidetracked. So then I'm like, okay, YouTube, I don't understand this industry. Yeah. This is now 2018. I'm like, okay, cool. This is nice. Then there's a medium, a lady called Jackie Pritchard. She's based in Cape Town.
A medium?
Yeah.
Hey, intelligent.
Yeah, like you said, calling. So I'd had one consultation with her. She does telephonic consultations as well.
Yeah.
Because she's based in Cape Town and I was already living here in Joburg.
But what motivates you to make that call?
Because I really want to know, what must I do next?
Am I up, am I down, am I going left or right?
Because I was like, I always wanted to be rich and famous, to be honest.
And what's the best way to do it than to do something that you actually love?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because when you do what you love, it doesn't even feel like work.
That's the dream.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the dream.
So here I was in this construction industry, no man's land. Like I was pretty decent at it, but it just didn't.
It wasn't you.
Yeah.
What does the medium say, Lufefe?
She's like, I think you should do the motorsports thing. You're young, black, very unique.
She talked about it out of the blue.
No, I engaged with her and I said, look, I'm in the crossroads. I've been advised like this, and now I'm thinking, because I don't want to necessarily do all the sports at once. I want to first do a niche.
But you're not supposed to give her that much detail.
No, but I trust her. Like, I had no reservation about... I was there for advice, not necessarily searching something that I didn't know.
It wasn't a session where...
Yes, exactly. Okay. So I'm like to her, okay, I've got this feeling, people are saying this to me. Then she's like, do the motorsports thing. And out of these 5 sports, F1 is my favorite. So I was like, okay, fair, let's do it. Then, so I watched a lot of fan channels because Motorza, it's a fan channel. Yeah. So what a fan channel is a channel that belongs to a fan of the sport or of a team or whatever, So...
And the fan is the one that's creating
the fan, exactly. Hence fan channel.
Okay. Because
it belongs to the fan. So my favorite fan channel, like I said, I'm an Arsenal fan. It was at the time. I don't think it's my favorite anymore now, though.
Another.
It's AFTV. Yeah? So AFTV was started in 2012, which is Arsenal Fan TV.
Yeah. By
an inspirational gent in the UK. He's called Robbie Lyle. So I started reading up on how he started it. And what it is, it's engagement. So we never show what's happening in the racing. It's about what our perspective is of what's happening there. So he was like, when he started it, people were like, hey, who's going to watch when you don't have the rights to showcase the games or highlights or whatever the case may be. And how he started it, he is a season ticket holder. Yeah. So he goes to all the games.
Wait, what is a ticket holder?
A season ticket holder. So there's...
Oh, he buys tickets for the season.
For the season, yes. You pay for them upfront, right? So that means you have to attend all the home games. Yeah. And then you travel with the team and when they do away games. But there's a minimum amount of games you need to attend. So as a season ticket holder, Arsenal, at least they're better now, but they were really crap then. So what he would do after the games, he would engage with fans. What are your thoughts on the game? And then from that, it went viral.
The following grew.
Yeah, and he started building a network where he's fizzing out from these fans that he's engaging with on which ones get the most reactions and traction.
So he'd be doing this while watching the game.
After the game.
After the game.
Yes, a review. As
And
it
they
were.
can't really stop him from doing
Exactly. And if you're standing outside the stadium and people would see, these lights, you're like, what's happening there?
that. And you catch them very emotional at the time.
You go. And then it just went boom.
Nah.
Now there's so many other fan channels. I mean, all the football clubs in England, they at least have one marquee fan channel. And this was something that he pioneered. So I was like, I'm going to mimic what he's doing, but be the F1 correspondent of AFTV. But now I live here in Joburg. There's no F1 races here or anything. So then how was I going to build my network? So we started doing motorsports events where we go watch Formula 1 as a community. Then after the race, I started interviewing people. And then that's how my journey began.
So you just answered my next question, which was, what were your next steps? So that's what you do.
Well, that's what I was doing. I mean, now we're constantly evolving because, like I said, I was just counting bricks and mortar. So
but
the marketing space...
How receptive, though, are people when you start doing this? How welcoming was the space? Ready for this type of vlogging and interactions, and were people confused of what is he trying to do? Who does it think he is?
There you go. No, it's like that. I mean, when you start something that people are not necessarily familiar with, there's always going to be resistance.
Skeptics.
And you need to build it. You need to be patient. You need to be resilient because a lot of doors, they get shut in your face. People don't understand even what you're doing, including even like my father, for argument's sake. He's still trying to figure out.
We'll come back to that. I'd like to know what he thinks about it.
So anyway, I started doing memes, right? And I'd put like memes. Then I started doing like the history. This driver did this driver did that. And it would get 1 like, 2 likes, 3 likes,
It's neither here or there.
And I was like, but it's quite discouraging. You're like, nobody likes this. Then someone said, you need to start afresh, because I was doing it on my personal profile. And they were like, you need a separate profile altogether. And then start following accounts and pages that are within the space. Then the algorithm will naturally drive. And that's what happened gradually. So my first post was on the 17th of August.
So what year is this when
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
My first post. So at that point in time, F1 had just been acquired, the broadcasting rights, by a media giant called Liberty Media. So the previous broadcast owners of F1, they were not interested in social media. That's why most of us black people, we don't know much about F1. It was not for us.
Do you think it's part of the gatekeeping of these rights?
Yeah.
They don't want people...
That was a strategy of the old regime. So these new guys, they paid £8 billion for the rights. And they were like, we want our money back. And the American, they don't have that historic DNA of what F1 is.
No.
It's about the bottom line.
Yeah.
So they changed the logo. They created a website. They created F1 TV Pro, which is now fast taking over from your Sky Sports and everything as the broadcasting platform. It's much cheaper and it's accessible no matter where you are, because it's like an app, like Amazon or
I get you.
or Netflix. So they also started being very active on social media, posting and all of that. They rebranded. They just became so cool, and then F1 was in your face. And then they went one step further and recorded a docu-series of behind the scenes called Drive to Survive.
Okay.
And this was on the eve of the pandemic. So as soon as people were sitting at home needing content to watch,
nothing to do,
they would watch Drive to Survive. And that's how then the sport became popular worldwide, because apparently it's the fastest growing sport in terms of viewership right now.
Honestly, it is, because I feel like I woke up, I slept and I woke up.
And then it was there.
And everyone knows about F1. And I was like, Bendipim now. I missed the train.
Really?
Like girls, boys, everyone is in it.
Yeah, it has no gender, it has no
Yeah.
age. It's for everyone. It's so emotionally engaging.
Really.
Yo, it's crazy.
We'll get back
People
into
go
it.
mad.
Is it? What's that football watchers?
Well, football watchers, there's not very many questionable decisions, but Formula One is not shy
People
of controversy.
lose and people don't want to live anymore.
Yeah, of course. No, sports generally. I always say this for people who aren't into sports.
I get it.
And I say, it's the only real thing on TV. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, think about it. Reality shows, they're scripted.
Yeah,
The
everything is
news,
curated.
it's a narrative.
Yeah.
But when you're watching this Champions League final, Zidane is kicking that volley, scoring this goal in the
And
89th
anything may
minute.
happen.
At that moment where you are watching it in front of 60,000 fans.
Yeah.
Like that is something else.
It's
and
fulfilling.
exactly. And unpredictable.
Net. So when I met you, not even when I met you, first one met many years ago.
Many
You were my senior in high
Yes,
school.
yes.
Fast forward high school, I think you were 2 years ahead of me. We meet in the streets of Auckland Park.
3 years ahead of you.
3 years ahead of
Yes.
me. Definitely. A senior.
With a capital S.
Yeah. So we meet like 3 years
Yes.
in, and you are at Wits, and I'm starting my first year in UG, and you're doing this construction built. It was a built environment
Yes.
thing. I wasn't sure what you were doing, and you're pushing, then you leave, and someone says you are in PE now, continuing to study as well.
Yes.
What was that journey, and what happened there? How far did you go with that?
Okay. So, I mean, I was very naughty growing up. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, at age 19, 20, 21.
And
or
why do
whatever.
parents think we know? You are 18.
Because they didn't have the
19.
opportunities that we
Right, too
have.
much
And
pressure.
and for them, I think it's that if I had this opportunity, this is what I
Yeah.
would have done.
Yeah.
So that's literally our parents'
Because I feel like you
perspective.
pick a subject just to get out of the house.
Yes, exactly.
And
I mean,
go-
first I took a gap
And
year.
pretend like you are starting something.
Exactly.
You took a gap year.
I took a gap year. Then I did IT for 1 year. And then I only got into building because that's what my father was doing. And, you always want to make your parents
You
proud
always wanna-
and follow in their footsteps.
Yeah.
So I was like, why not? But I did say to them that I wanted to do sports management. And my dad was like, what the hell is
You
that?
said it.
Yeah. Like, what's that? So there are those qualifications that our parents don't respect, that are not your lawyers or doctors and things like that. So then he was like, yeah, do this thing, construction management. No. I was like, okay,
Because it worked out for
let's
you.
check it out. Yeah, well. Then I remember the first day I came into class, QS 101, I'll never forget. And this guy was like, brickwork is measured in square meters, doors are measured in number, concrete in cubic meters. And I was like, I will never know this thing.
It sounds anything that has numbers and science. And are you good with numbers though?
Very.
Quantity surveying is numbers, right?
Yes.
Are you good with numbers?
Very.
Ow.
Very.
Ongalahlekanga mos.
I think I'm good in a number of things. You see.
Yeah, what's the
So,
and the class is talking cubicles and
yay, I was lost. Cubic meters, I was like, I'll
Cubic
never.
meters.
And I was not really into it.
Yeah.
But I ended up doing so well in that career choice. I worked for Greneka LTA, a competitor of Group 5, as we spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
And then I worked for Eskom for a bit, and then I worked for the city of Joburg.
Oh, you also work for Eskom?
I did for 3 months.
Sure.
So I applied at Eskom and City of Joburg same time, but Eskom responded first. So while I was there, then City of Joburg came back to me, and I was like, I'm going back to Joburg. This was my time in PE,
Yeah.
right? Because I always wanted to live here since I was a child.
But how do you make this transition, Lufefe? I mean,
From construction to thing.
how do you? I also wanted to ask. So you've got this direction now that you want to take, and you still in the construction space.
Yes. So
How do you? Because the thing is about being South African and black. Can't just wake up and say, I'm done, I'm out. You need an exit strategy all the time. You need to weigh your options, make sure your bills are paid ahead of time.
True.
What's your thought process at this time? Have you started doing the fan channel content on a part-time basis, and then eventually you're like, okay, I'm ready, I'm leaving this thing?
Well, I'll tell you, I was ready to leave. I've got a huge risk appetite.
No savings, appetite. Just strong savings.
No, hardly any savings. I'm prepared to start ground zero. You know?
You don't worry about
because
money like that.
No. You know what? I always say this. I mean, I love the finer things in life, but money doesn't really matter to me. Like, it's not.
How are you going to pay for
value.
things?
Well, at that point, I didn't have any revolving debt. I have my children. I have 3 daughters. So they were my primary concern in how this is going to affect them. But I know that 5-10 years down the line, they're going to be living delicious because I believe in this. So it's a short-term sacrifice for long-term objective. I just didn't know it would take this long.
Yeah. And how do you transition then? You are like, you've totally left the construction field.
Now, yeah, I mean, look, I've got my company. It's fully compliant. If anyone wants to bring an opportunity my way, I'm ready to unlock it. But I'm not actively chasing work. People, again, thought I was crazy. So my first post, like I say, was 2018. But when I registered Motorza as a business is June 2022. So between that time and 2022, I'm trying to convince my dad that I don't want to do construction anymore. And he's not hearing it. It's like, he has a saying, which is a very wise saying, actually. But I never caught it at first. He's like, a bird in hand is worth 2 in the bush.
Wait, it's English. A bird in hand
is worth 2 in the bush.
Is worth 2 in the bush. Let me explain.
So what you have already, even if it's 1,
yes,
is worth more than 2 that you're chasing.
Oh, basically be content.
Yes. Work with this, and then you can go after that.
But I mean, times have changed. I mean, Mthatha would have had so many examples of people that are living amazing and doing impactful work in the sports fields. Is he still not convinced? Maybe not because he's saying, I want to be Lewis Hamilton. You saying, I'm taking a different direction.
Yes. You know what? My dad, he's pretty old school. And he's an academic.
All
orientated. Yeah, so for him, first of all, I think he did want one of his children to follow in his footsteps.
And he was happy than the eldest son.
There you go. So he was happy with what we were doing, because he was even helping me with my business, because I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit.
Also, you also started your own business during this time.
Yeah,
the construction space.
I was only employed for 5 years. Yeah, 6 years.
And
my whole life, and then after that, I've been in business. Even when I was employed, it's when we started Silly Summer. That was probably my second post-qualification year.
For those of you that don't know what Silly Summer is.
Okay, so Silly Summer was...
The word explains itself.
Yes. Google it.
Can you Google it?
Yeah, there's a nice production video there on YouTube. So Silly Summer, I was 26 when we started Silly Summer. And I was working full-time here in Joburg whilst establishing an event in Port St. John's. You know? So at that point, it was my side hustle. But a lot of people who had already identified my character, they used to think that that's what I do. Those who didn't know about my
on a full-time
professional
basis.
Side. But me, I didn't get it. I was like, these guys, they don't get it.
I get where they were coming from.
Yeah, well. So anyway, we did Silly Summer. Silly Summer, just to give your viewers a bit of background, was an event that ran from 2009 to 2016 on Boxing Day in Port St. John's in our home province, Eastern Cape. So Port St. John's is this coastal town, beautiful. And it was a tradition even with our parents that on Boxing Day,
Asikho.
everyone goes there.
Asifumaneki.
There you go.
See, unavailable.
Yeah, you are. Blue tick. So anyway, the year before we started Silly Summer, we went to Port St. John's the 26th, and we're chilling there. We're driving from one house to second beach. We're buying, but there's nothing really to do. And then I say to a friend of mine who sticks, Chan, if we did an event here, don't you think it's gonna rock? Because there's nothing to do here, but there's so many people. And he's like, there's some people who tried. I won't say the name, but I was like, that guy, he didn't grow up in Mthatha. He doesn't have our social currency.
Yeah.
So you're telling me about him and his St. Andrews College? I don't think.
And the support.
Exactly. Then I was like, Tina, we've moved
can
in
do
Mthatha 9 years ago, but we still have, the clout here. Let's do it.
Yeah, and you leave, and when you get home, it's like you never left.
There you go. And now, ever since I left home in 2002, except since after COVID, 3 months has never elapsed without me going home. I remember even when I was in varsity, I would, the day I finish writing, get on the bus and then come back. The day school's open, yes. And people didn't get it. I go, I'm like, guys.
Yeah.
So even now, I was at home last weekend, and before that, a month before.
Wow.
So I love my home. It makes me whole, and it's part of who I am, a huge part of who I am.
So at that moment, you sound like Mthatha was probably looking at this next side hustle as if it's another Silly Summer.
There you go. And Silly Summer didn't end well. I lost 2 million in one day when it ended up flopping and was highly indebted. Yeah. So my dad was absolutely not
another
after that.
Another side hustle.
Exactly.
That's gonna cost us money.
There you go. So anyway, Silly Summer, we knew it would take off, but not the way it did. Like, it just grew leaps and bounds within 2-3 years, and I was like, this is incredible. Then it's at that point when I was doing Silly Summer where I went into business again with my construction company, Maye Holdings. So I was doing interior design construction, mainly for government, but my aim was to work for corporates. And I'd gotten into those corporate spaces by the time this Motorza dreams coming.
What is interior design construction? It's construction, and you also did a course in interior.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't do any courses. So you know how when you change your offices, you're going to put a shop front or whatever, or you're changing the configuration. That's interior design construction.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you do good there?
Yeah,
You were happy until the sports was like, don't forget about us.
This is me. Exactly. It was doing, pretty well. Got nice gradings. I did over 29 projects over an 8-year period. So it was doing all right, but not fulfilling my soul,
Yeah, and you need to follow it.
There you go.
It wakes you up at night, that thing.
In fact, now I'm an advocate. Everyone who's like, I don't know what I want to do, I'll be like, what do you love? No, me, I love, for an example, law. And I'll be like, no, law's a career. I'm making an example. Maybe you love cooking or whatever, so get into that.
Yeah.
People must follow their passion, guys.
And it's so hard to explain this to our parents.
No,
if they actually listened, it would save them money and time.
And make them money. Because when you do what you love, you do it well.
Parents now, these kids, not younger generation parents, I think they've woken up to that. And at a young age, they're starting to see what a child is good at and listening more. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with that. Our parents never really spent a lot of time with us because they were out there trying to get this money to get us into these
schools.
Take us
to these schools. Even
now.
actually.
So our parents had we had big numbers of siblings. So there's no time to spend time with Lufefe and spend time with the sisters and to understand that when he said sports management, he wasn't taking it from the air.
He was like,
it's not.
I was like, okay, fair, leave it. But one person who was really into my love for sports was my mother. She's no longer with us. She left us in 2019. So my mom, she would buy me soccer boots. Rugby boots. I never played, so I sucked at soccer. Rugby boots and, stuff like that. Just supporting. You know how we used to go to Formula1 house at 6 a.m. and she would walk me there. It's dark, it's winter, and all that stuff. So I remember, because Motorza, I started it a few months before she passed on. So she didn't like me doing tenders and all of that, this construction business and stuff. She was like, nah, this is not for you, nah. Then...
But you were fulfilled with it at some point, though.
Yeah, no, I was, but, it's up and down. You know what it is. You can go 3 months, 5 months, no pay, and you need money to run it. And it's a capital-intensive business, construction, So she didn't like me being in no man's land. Then that December, because she passed on February 2019. So that December, came home, all of that. So when I bought this car, I didn't even have a car at some stage. And then she's like, yeah, I can't imagine when I was so good. No, you don't even have a car. I'm like, no, that car outside's mine. Yo, she was so happy. And I was like, also, I've started this thing. I didn't even know how to explain it to her. She didn't understand it. But when I showed it to her, she was like,
you did that?
Yeah, born again.
Well, she saw you.
There you go.
Born immediately.
So she was the first person to endorse this journey.
Yeah, I won't lie. I envy people that can immediately know for a fact, and they are like, if I don't do this data, then I'm not going to start. So and she will let me do what I do. Saves time.
There you go.
Saves money. Sheesh.
Yeah. And that's how, and when she endorsed it, gave me so much joy, especially because it was so short before her passing. So I was like, if my mom blesses it, we can move with this.
Yeah. And what's happening with Motorza right now? I'm assuming it started with you. Have you expanded? What's your proudest moment of that? Like, what's the moment where you're like, yabona ke tata, this is what I was talking about.
I'm constantly having conversations with her about it. You know what I've started doing now?
Yeah.
Every step forward, I'll show him, screenshot. Look, I got paid. Look. I'm the resident contributor on ENCA.
Yeah.
I'm also on Newsroom Africa. The morning show, now morning live recently. There is one more. Okay, sorry.
So they ask you to come.
Yeah.
Okay. For someone who doesn't know, when you get asked on these platforms, not all of them are paying jobs, right?
No, none of them are paying.
None of them are paying.
But for me, I'm okay with that because it's building the brand, because I want to position myself as the foremost authority in Formula1 commentary on the continent. Ne? So when I first got ENCA, I used to go, I wasn't a resident from the get-go. They'd call me as and when, Then I'd go. And the guy who actually plugged me, he was like, when he first told his CEO about me, he's like, who the hell is that? But now apparently the audience ratings go through the roof when I'm there.
That's wonderful.
And they didn't even want to tell me that. So maybe it is time we start monetizing.
Yeah, if they tell you that, you're going to start talking money.
There you go. But anyway, it is what it is. Then, the newsroom people, I had another friend. So in this journey, because I'm a very spiritual person, I'm guided by my spirit. Everything I do.
And you've learned to listen.
Exactly. And life has been...
Because you can be guided, but if you don't get yourself in a space where you can quiet your mind and hear and stop.
There you go. No, you're right about that.
Block the noise. Because I'm learning it.
Right now.
And
it's an ongoing process. It never ends.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've been meeting people. I've been fortunate enough, which to me further affirms that I'm on the right path. Because the way things are happening with regards to the channel, growing has been sort of supernatural, I would say.
It's not just you.
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely not.
For example, what?
Okay, so the first crew member that I had was Chloe Banza. Ne? So Chloe, I met her at Kailami 9 Hour, This was 2020.
So you literally have a bedroom at the Kalami Grand.
I wish I go there all the time.
Will take you there all the time.
It does.
No,
So, okay, it was lockdown, so no fans, just media. I'm trying to remember how I even got that media pass, because, nobody knew who I was then. And then...
It's a local race.
It's a local race. It's an endurance race. It happens all over the world, but the South African leg. So it's like Formula 1, but touring cars. So the road cars that you're familiar with. But they do endurance, which means long distance. The reason it's called Kalami 9 Hour, it's a 9-hour race. So 3 drivers, they rotate driving that 9 hours. And the one who does it the quickest wins. So I'm there, and then in the media box, then I see you, Chloe. And like I said, led by my spread, I'm like, this girl's energy is so amazing. Then I start engaging with her. And she talks and she talks. Maybe this is going to sound misogynistic, but when you talk sport with her, it's like you're talking with a man. I knew you wouldn't like it.
It has an element of that, but I know what you mean.
That's what I've heard.
Look, no one expects women to know
100%
Formula 1. It's a fact. Every time I hear women, not here, I see it on socials and on Twitter, I'm like,
mesmerized, exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, wow.
It's not natural.
It's not. It's not.
So I started engaging with her. We're talking about this race. We talk F1. And she's like, she works at Vision View Sports Radio at the time. And she's building her brand as well. Then I tell her, hey, I've got this platform and I've been looking for a co-host who's a lady who is informed. And I think you'd be the one. And she's like, okay, cool. But I'm like, there's no money in this gig.
By the way.
It's a passion project. And she's like, Fede, let's do it. So we worked together. This is 2021. And then it made it easier to engage with someone, because before that I was talking to myself, basically. Well, to my audience, but not in a one-on-one. So we worked together. That was the first crew member, 2021 and 2022. Then, her brand has blown up now. She's quite big. She's got Adidas endorsement deal and all of that.
Are you guys still working together?
No, she wouldn't have the time to do the community service and that. And for me, I understood that, because we're not here to hold anyone's dreams, and there's seasons for people to be part of your journey. So she then moved on to greener pastures, which is amazing. Shout out to Chloe. But at least she had taken it from here to where it needed to be. Then in 2021, so remember I said Formula 1 doesn't shy away from controversy.
Yeah.
So the last race of the 2021 season.
Where was it?
In Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
Right? So at that point, we had collaborated with, because like I said, there's a boom now in Formula 1. And there's a lot of F1 content creators. So
and it's not even a sporting event now. It's a social
100%.
media image
There you go.
type of thing.
No, you're right about that. So anyway, there's another guy who I was also in varsity with back in the day. Someone sent me a flyer that they're doing an event in Sandton. I was like, okay, let me go check it out. At that point, I didn't have anyone that I was working with. It was when lockdown was on and off,
Yeah.
Then I go there and this guy's doing this viewing. It's his first viewing that he's doing. There's like 6 or 8 of us. No, it's not the Abu Dhabi race yet. I think it was the first race after the summer break, which is probably like Belgium or something. And then, so I tell him what I'm doing. And we had a very good relationship, even in varsity, with this guy. And he's like, no, he's starting it. I'm like, okay, how about I create content at your viewings? Because I don't do viewings. I'm doing content. Then we built. And that year was the most lit F1 year. So everyone wanted to watch as soon as they learned about this brand, learned about Motorza and this collaboration between us and F1 paddock viewing. So the last race of that year, it's the title decider. It's Lewis Hamilton, who's the Michael Schumacher of today.
That I know. I'm not that bad. I'll surprise. He's won it 7 times.
Shout out to you.
Yeah,
I'm impressed. So he was going to win his 8th on this
Yeah.
day.
Okay,
So-
I think I might have watched that.
Yeah, no,
Because
I
everyone
mean,
was like,
it
is
went
he gonna
viral.
win?
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember that.
So he was going against his latest rival, Max Verstappen, who's the
Yeah.
current F1 world champion, won the last 3 titles.
Which country?
He's from Holland. What do you call it? Netherlands.
Netherlands.
Yes. So it's him versus Max. They have the same points, all of that. But at this race, it was packed to the rafters as where we were at the time, 0-1 by the Baron in Santon. And then we watched this race. It's dramatic, and the rules were bent to favor Max and disfavor Lewis.
I remember that.
And people
were pissed.
Mad. While that noise was happening, there's a young man who pulls me aside. He's my right hand. And he's like, how's it, bro? I see you alone in this thing and you're struggling. I've got special skills and I'd like to work with you. You know, I was like, same chat. There's no money here. He's like, no, the money will come. I can see it. Don't worry about that. Let's do this thing.
What are the skills?
Yo. Before that, I wouldn't even call what I was doing a channel. But if you look at the progress we've made from 2022 January till now, I would attribute a lot of it to him. So I have the vision. I'll be like, I want this. And then he'll just bring it to life. And some of my ideas
And you need
are
that,
crazy. Yes.
You need that person.
Exactly.
Like in any business.
In any business.
Yeah. In America, they call it what? A handler, a fixer.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
A Ray Donovan or Olivia
Pope.
Fede, exactly. So Kulu comes and he has this long name, Kulu Khelo. I'm like, I mustn't forget this guy's name. And I went and I followed him on Instagram and I'm seeing his content. I'm like, you know, he's got good energy, all of that. Then we hook up in January because that was December, 12th of December. So it's holidays. Went home to the Eastern Cape, obviously. And then when I came back, I texted him, I'm back so we can meet. Then we sit. Then I unpack the vision to him. And he's like, you know what? When I saw the flyer going to that event, I was like, finally someone has caught on to this F1 thing. So it was alignment. You with me? And then I'd be like, I want this. I want to live stream. I want this. I want this. This is what you do. You need restream. You need this. You need
got
that.
it.
You need that. He got it.
He got it.
Yeah, well, he even quit his job for like 3 months to do this thing. I'm like, with no money. But he was so into it, and I really appreciate that. And the pressure of someone entrusting you with their livelihood like that, it's a lot, but like it didn't affect
It's not
me
easy being a leader in something
at all.
because it's people's time, people's dreams,
Exactly.
and you want it to be
He wanted
eventually
to
profitable.
move. And he's obviously got a timeline in his head. And I don't know, well, are we going to create this piece of viral content today? Or in 5 years? Or in 3 years? Or in 2 years? And even me, I'm not like well versed in what I'm doing. I'm learning as I go along.
Yeah.
And I'll be like this. He's like, no. For optics, this is not good.
Yeah.
Brands, this is how they work. Then, we started building. At that point, we were still with F1 paddock viewing. Then jiggy, fast forward. Then after the summer break in 2022, people were advising me, listen, people are not sure what's Motorza, what's F1 paddock viewing. You're confusing the audience. You need to stand on your own. Okay.
So what does that mean? You have to break up?
From F1 paddock viewing.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, okay. But then now, remember what I was saying about Don Robbie having the community there? We call post-race interviews fan cams. So we'd have like 8 fan cams because there's so many people and it's an established brand. So now we have to go back to ground zero. We're looking for a home because we host these viewings and watch-alongs, as we call them, at different lifestyle venues in Johannesburg.
Watch-alongs.
Yes, so watch with us. There you go. So now we go to Lutzio's in Bearsnodia. It was just us and our friends. And there were many races like that. There was this one race, I think it was Canadian Grand Prix 2023. It was just me and Lulu and stuff that works in the restaurant.
And it didn't matter.
It mattered because we want people and you're like, what's happening, you know? But you have to keep
But where
going.
are you now with the following? Are people catching on?
Yeah, no.
Are your watch-alongs now, starting to build up? is the sponsorship and the recognition, and most importantly, the sponsorship part, because you can only do so much in the space without.
Yes.
You need at some point you need to be able to be on site. Where let's say there's another. Where's the last F1? Where was it?
The last race.
Yeah, the last race.
Yo, why can't I remember? Canada.
Canada.
Yes.
For someone like
Montreal.
you would hope eventually there is a sponsor that sees what you do and like, man, let's take these guys to go and.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what we're working towards.
From there.
Yes.
What are the talks around there?
Well, I'll tell you. When I started the channel, my thought process was we'll create a strong product and brands will come. Yeah? But obviously, like I say, you're constantly revising.
Takes time.
Yes. So when Klulu came, one of the special skills, you asked what his special skills are. He does killer presentations in a way that I've never seen presentations.
He has a gift.
Yeah. So we start doing prezzies, approaching brands. I'm telling you, we've probably done more than 40 prezzies since then. Ne? Not a single one has succeeded. As in, we got feedback from any brand to say, okay, we'll work with you. Here you go.
Not even we saying no because.
It's the first time I'll tell you the story about someone who unpacked what our, let's call it shortcomings, for lack of a better word, is. Ne? So we're sending these praises to all these different brands. No one comes back. Some, when you tell them you got a fan channel, they'll get excited. But when it's time to press play, nothing.
They're not sure.
Ne? Yeah. So our first paying gig was last year, 9th of July.
Sure.
The British Grand Prix.
So what is expected of you now in a paying gig for what you guys do?
No, we'll create content and promote your venue, your product, your service, anything. Because it's digital broadcasting. So think about TV, but in 2024.
And who does the content belong to?
Well, the content lives on our platform.
Okay.
Right? I mean, everything is ours. However, for a client, we'll say, we're going to create an after movie for you, a reel for you to use on your platform. If you have one. Because most of the brands that we work with, they don't necessarily have their own platform, where they do content. So we'll do like collaborations and things like that. So Sports Nation, they supported us. They're like, how much do you charge? We don't even know how much we charge. I'm like, 3.5. Just taking a chance. And 3.5, mind you, is not even enough to cover our costs.
What do you call this thing when you do costings or rate
build up?
Is there anyone even doing what you're doing? Like, you have nothing to compare it to.
Exactly. You don't.
Like, you just.
But me now, just counting my expenses because at these venues, I would have to buy food for myself and Kulu and Chloe. Drinks. Luckily, Chloe doesn't drink, but Kulu drinks.
Don't forget the petrol and
petrol to get there and them and everyone,
Yeah.
So each race Sunday was costing me around 3.5. And at this point in time, I've stopped the construction business. So what I did for money, and I still sort of do now, is provide contractors with admin support. So they are CIDB applications, things like that, the systems that run a construction business. So that's what I do, but that's like as and when. It's based on referrals, reputation. It can go quiet for 2 months, can get 6 jobs in 1 week, etc. So that's what I was doing to get by. I'm still doing that, like subsidizing. But at least now Motorza are starting to gain traction as well.
And there's a track record and history.
There you go. And consistency.
People want to see what you've done. It's like, South Africa. They will say, we want to experience that time you just gotten out.
Exactly.
Or you are starting.
Exactly.
Where must this experience come from?
There you go. And brands, they're not going to invest in you if they can't see you've invested.
Yeah,
so
true.
How can I give you my money when you won't put money behind this thing? So you can't tell me about an idea. This is not Silicon Valley. You need to show commitment. So now there's a boom of content creators following, Abu Dhabi and Drive to Survive. So it's even becoming a competitive space.
It's inspiring you.
There you go, and keeps you on your toes. Me, I welcome competition.
You can't gatekeep that thing.
Yeah, at
you
all.
Can't.
And it's big enough for all of us, you know? Because there's so many, I'll say, white people who are already in that space. But for black people, you'll be hard pressed to find those that are consistent. So we always on our toes and approaching brands. Then, okay, we make our first buck. Scrooge agrees. He was skeptical as well. I didn't know you're going to charge me. I'm like, Freddy. And after that, we got Lux Home, which is, well, Sports Nation. They are...
Yes, I know Lux Home.
Yes, I mean, Lux Home's a premium brand.
Yeah.
So Sports Nation, they do travel sports packages. So they'll take you to go watch a Springboks in France, the World Cup, or to a Formula 1 race. And that's where we saw the synergy. We're like, come, take us to a race, we'll create content, and then we'll pay it off by helping you sell these packages. They were interested in that, but, you know, I don't know, mechanics or whatever, but it didn't really take off. Then they gave us this gig. So that was our first paying gig last year. Then Lux Home also approached us. Come, how much do you charge to do your thing? And I was like, 10 grand. And he's like, okay, I'll pay. Where? Fair day. Then I'm like, okay, cool. Now we're building. And then after that, we've been getting other gigs. So what I'm saying is my initial thought that do the product, then brands will come. It's exactly working like that. Because all the business that we've secured, it came to us.
There is a general perception that motorsports, particularly Formula 1, is a sport for the elite.
100%.
Generally, people, I don't even think people, even a lot of people don't Google how much the tickets are because already in their head, they're like, I probably need to sell a kidney. I probably need to sell a kidney for me to make it to Abu Dhabi, to Canada. You'll tell me about that how expensive it is. Also, you also cover the local races.
Yes.
How expensive is that? So that if there's anyone who's interested at coming to watch the local races, and also now it's someone who has the kidney to sell to go watch the Formula 1 stuff wherever that is. How is the local versus the international ticketing in this type of space?
Okay. So motorsports in SA, just like worldwide, it's been a niche for a certain LSM. So because of that, people don't know who's doing what, who's racing. I don't know if you know Chops Sipuka.
No, I don't.
He's from Kukumbu. So he was my senior in primary school. And he was the first racer that we ever knew of. And Gwagukumbu, Kulele Mthatha and all of that.
Racing where?
Well, he was racing Polo Cup all over the country. He was racing GT3 cars more recently. So he was doing a lot of racing. But we knew that, I mean, you know, Mthatha, we like to pride ourselves that we can drive and all of that. So,
fast life.
Yes, fast life. Mini Joburg. So Chops would like come to Mthatha, you see his lime green BMW, and you're like, oh, there's Chops, wada. And he was like, I would say, the one who broke the glass ceiling in exposing us to racing as the black community as Mthatha, because it's actually quite well known. So that's how we learnt about it. Your Terry Mosses and all the traditional drivers, your Franco Scribantis and all those guys, right? So local racing, to answer your question, it's very cheap to go to a local race.
What is cheap?
50 Rand, 100 Rand, 250 if it's expensive. But obviously if you want VIP, then it goes to your 5,000-6,000. But that's an all expenses paid. You just get there and then just do your thing. So in 2019, Chops, he had sort of semi-retired from racing. But there was an opportunity in Terry Moss's team driving the Audis. I followed him all over the country, capturing with my phone the content from his races. So he was in Zwartkops, Red Star. Zwartkops is here in Centurion, not far from here. Red Star Raceway in Delmas. I went to his race in PE at Aldo Scribanti, and the one in East London at King George. And there I'm engaging with the, the
And
kingmakers
the
who are
costing
here.
is the same throughout the province.
Yeah, no,
Pretty
some
much.
of them are even free, eh? I mean,
Yeah.
they want people to come and watch. And because they're not getting large numbers, so they're not trying to discourage you with a high ticket price. So I was following Chops everywhere he was going. And that's how I started building the network within the motorsport space, learning who this is, what they do, etc. That's locally. So now
Internationally?
we'll get there. So now, with the platform growing and getting recognized by people, we got an opportunity on Opulence Radio. So we've got a show there on Tuesday from 6 to 9 p.m. Opulence is an online lifestyle radio station where we talk all things F1, and that's where we do our podcast and everything and start inviting guests.
Great.
Right? So the end goal is to identify and help nurture the next Lewis Hamilton, who is all African driver, maybe from Katlehong or Kukumbu or wherever. Because there's a lot of talent that is not unearthed because they never got the opportunity. So that's for me is the ultimate dream.
You're answering my last question, but I want to come back to it.
Yes.
Let's talk about the international fees, please. Starting maximum. Yeah, I see a lot of South Africans, though, are starting to make it to a lot of these
races,
big games. And when a lot of people start making it to something, you start thinking that maybe I can afford it, because you see people are actually making time to go and do it. But let's talk pricing internationally. What does one need to expect?
Well, it varies from race to race. For instance, I know that there is a collective effort to bring the Formula 1 back to South Africa.
Yes.
And rumor has it to sit on the grass banks, you'll pay about 11,000.
Have they unpaused us from the running?
Well, you know what? F1, it's money business. So if we're prepared to put the money, we'll bring it.
Yeah.
So it's about us getting the money together. At least now load shedding is scarce.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I think was a huge stumbling block. How you're going to host an event that's so expensive for a certain crowd when we're not taking care of basics. Yeah. So, about 11,000 for a grandstand or grass bank ticket, and then it can go up to 180, 200,000 for a paddock pass, because the VIP area in Formula 1 or racing is called.
So you can buy for a certain race or seasonal.
No, they don't do season tickets. You buy per race. Like Las Vegas, which was introduced last year, I think, or 2 years ago. It's the most expensive one to go to. It's ridiculous.
Vegas.
I think it's like 49 grand for the ticket on its own.
On its own.
Yeah, just the ticket, not even the whole experience.
Then you need to get there and
exactly, and heavy dollar.
Whew. Yeah.
So it's not a cheap sport to get into.
Yeah, it isn't.
However, with the evolution of time now, because how you get to be a racer, you need to start young, 4 or 5 years old, with go-karts. Then you develop and move, step by step upward.
Because that's another general perception. Besides the fact that it is a elite niche space, there is a perception that a young kid that is in Soweto, Alex, Tembisa, cannot just wake up and decide they want to race cars.
Yes, no, that's true.
A lot of the kids that are now your Lewis Hamiltons, they started racing. They were taken to special schools that teach them how to be this thing from a young age. It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
And I know a kid that is here in South Africa whose parents could afford to take him to the UK. I think he started when he was about 14, and he's been in that school forever. But it's not the reality of all of these kids.
No, that's fact.
I'm glad that you are touching on. So go-karting.
That's the starting point.
Build
Yes,
the cars.
inqwelo.
And
But it just shows that we have that spirit in us, eh?
We did.
Yeah.
But the thing is, some spaces look like they are hard for us to get into.
True.
Because you look at who's there and how many are there.
No, it's facts.
The development of a race car driver. I watch the movies, okay?
No, it's a lot.
That much I know, but I look at it and I'm like, yeah.
No, it's a lot. You could pay like.
But how would you
26 million?
advise a kid that wants to get into the sports that doesn't come from money and can afford to be taken to a special school in the UK? How can they start and how can they build and eventually get there?
Okay, very good question. So now there are ways to train drivers without the realistic costs, your fuels, your travels, mechanics, etc. parts. So with technology, there's something called sim racing. So you race in a simulator, which is virtual reality. So it's almost like you are driving wherever you are.
The movie Gran Turismo.
Exactly. There you go. So with the development of simulators, you will be able to identify talent, right? But obviously, even simulators, they're not just there. There's few of them even in the country. But now Motorsport South Africa, who's the custodian of motorsports, they have started their own program where now they're going to be inviting children and doing workshops in different townships, villages, etc., where they're going to be introducing these kids to sim racing. And from that, they'll be able to fizzle out who has that raw talent that could be nurtured. And you know that you are supporting someone because it's still going to require a lot of money, but at least you're investing in someone who you know has got the raw talent, which I think is the first thing. Because for me, driving, it's about talent, you know. You could be driving for 10 years, but if you don't have that thing, you will never be an elite driver, no matter how trained you become. So there is that raw talent that is needed. And I think, you know, programs like your eSIMs, etc., they are now even video games, you know, PlayStation and all of that, you're able to identify talent. Because Lewis, do you know how he got into racing? So he doesn't come from money. So he grew up in Stevenage, raised by first his biological mother, and then he moved with his father when he started this situation. So you know those radio control cars, the ones you have like a keypad, and then you drive it. So where they were staying on Sundays, they used to race those cars. And Lewis, he was about 5-6 years old, and he'd be beating adults, like consistently with those cars. And then
just through remote controlling.
And they're like, huh? How's this kid doing it? And then his father bought him a third-hand go-kart and a trailer where he'd drive in his station wagon around England first, you know, Brands Hatch, these tracks that are there, and competing, where you'd get these more privileged children coming from with fathers who were already maybe in F1, etc., like his former teammate Nico Rosberg, where they'd have a team of mechanics, a caravan, sponsors, etc. And Lewis would beat them in this painted third-hand go-kart. And then when he was 13, he met Ron Dennis, who was the team principal of McLaren at the time. Then he said, I'd like to drive for you. And then Ron Dennis said, call me in 9 years. But fortunately, they saw his super talent.
Yeah.
And then from there on, McLaren started supporting him until he got to F1.
Sure.
But from age 7, 8, where he got the go-kart to 13, his father had to hold even up to 3 jobs in order to support this career. And now he's the only black kid in
Look,
this
when I
whole
was
thing.
watching the movie Gran Turismo, I was like, there is a kid somewhere that is like, that could be me. That movie was so important, you know.
100%.
That movie was so important.
100%.
In fact, I even watched it before. I thought we would sit down like this one day.
Sure.
But I saw that movie and I was like, I wonder if anyone is doing this and providing this type of platform for the kids.
I'll show you this other kid, but his parents are well resourced. But he's
Yeah.
5 years old, but he's insane. Zane, He's from Sweden or something.
Yeah.
He's already driving Lamborghinis and stuff. He's mad. 5
Incredible.
years old in 2019.
5 years old.
5 years old. So there are those talents. And that boy, I don't know how his parents saw it, but he's definitely the guy. Like, he's
So
good stuff.
there definitely is a way to start without coming from
money. Yeah, definitely. And platform like Motorza is here for that, because we do our activations. Yes, of course, we do the lifestyle in the more affluent areas of Joburg, but we've done an activation in Soweto. Tomorrow we're going to be in Arcadia in Pretoria at Chicken Bar, for argument's sake, because yes, we acknowledge that it's for this, elite LSM, but we are bringing the sport to the people.
So do you think it's going to happen that, eventually they give us the green light and they're hosting the F1 in SA? What needs to happen
a little birdie told
till
me
we get there?
1.2 billion. Let me put it like that. Those are the fees to host a F1 race per year, right? You can't sign anything less than 5 years.
Sorry to interrupt you. Does a country get nominated, or they have to put their hand up?
Look,
to host the race.
There are traditional countries. So in the old days, there'd be like 15, 16 races at the same 15, 16 venues, with South Africa actually being one of the cornerstones, because South Africa has a rich history in Formula 1. The first Formula 1 race here was in 1961 in East London at the King George Circuit, funny enough. So I think they had 2 or 3 races there. They were still building Kyalami. Then around 67, 68, it moved to Kyalami. And there were a lot of races in Kyalami, about 15 or something. And then due to the sanctions from apartheid, the world were like, we're no longer going to South Africa. Then when things started easing up in the early 90s, it came back here. I think 91 was the first year it was, or 92, I'm not 100% sure. Then the last race at Kyalami was 1993.
Even I know that.
Fair, I'm impressed.
You said that was research, so I was like, I want to look down.
I'm happy with that, because a lot of people, even who are F1 fans, are not aware of that fact.
That the last race was just before
on the dawn of democracy
ending.
Yes, 100%. So I think with the changing of hands, maybe the gatekeepers were like, we're not sure what's going to happen in SA, so we're not going to continue with our agreement with them.
But the talks are back on. It might happen.
Yeah, definitely the talks are back on, and if I have anything to do about it, it's definitely back on.
Yeah.
There was an attempt 2 seasons ago where even the officials from FIA came to inspect the facility. So what happened with Kyalami? Let's talk about Kyalami. So like I say, Kyalami hosted a lot of the history of F1 in Africa. It resides in Kyalami.
Yeah.
If you've ever been there, if you walk the suites, you'll see it's written Alain Prost boardroom, etc., etc. So those are all legends, and it depicts the history of F1 in SA, which I think was very important. So in 2013, I think, there was an auction because Kyalami was a white elephant due to racing not being popular in SA. So it was just a fault there. And then LSM Distributors, who are the owners of Porsche South Africa, they bought it for, I think, 380 million on auction. And then they revamped it for around the same amount of money to get it to the level that it's at now. So in order to host a F1 race, you need a grade 1 racetrack. They have a grading system that has, certain characteristics to become that. So,
and how far are we to meeting the requirements?
Well, it's a grade 2 now.
Okay.
Kyalami. So they need an extended runoff area. This is in their inspection in 2022. They need more grandstands and a couple of other stuff, which would cost in the region of about 150 million rand. So this is what I was told, that Toby Fenter, the CEO of LSM, was like, guys, here's the facility. I can give it to you guys. And I've done what I can to get it to the level it's at. But if now we're going to host the F1 I'm not going to incur the cost to get it to being a grade 1.
Yeah.
The resources need to come from somewhere else. But otherwise, I'm more than happy to give you the venue, etc.
Yeah.
So that's where like the negotiation stalled, and there needs to be investment from government, substantial, in order, because that's how all the other countries are hosting it.
Yeah.
They have a lot of contributions from their government. So there were challenges around those negotiations, and then it stalled. And then we heard the announcement of what's this new race in America? Not Las Vegas. Oh, yes, Las Vegas. That became the 24th race, because there's now 24 races this year in a season. So apparently Liberty is ultimately looking to make it 25. But every continent in the world has a race, some even more than one, but except Africa.
Sure.
And one of the F1 races in the 60s was hosted in Morocco, in Marrakesh. So they were also in the running against Kailami to host the African Grand Prix. But I think even logically and historically, Kailami makes more sense, logistically. So then the talks collapsed, it went quiet, but a little birdie told me that they'll be back on now after the whole election situation and all of that. Things will steady up, and yeah, there are really people out there who are trying to bring
There's hope.
the SA Grand Prix back,
So
because
people
the
must
economic benefit of it, yes,
Yeah,
it won't go to one
definitely.
person,
The economic
but
benefits.
it'll put us on the map. It'll
Yeah,
be like
it
hosting
would.
2010 World Cup every year for 5 years, you know? And so many, because Africa is a unique continent compared to these first world countries and stuff. So I feel like in the modern day democratic F1 Grand Prix will be totally different to what it was pre-94.
Lufefe, let's wrap up.
Anyway,
We need to wrap up.
okay.
Yeah.
I can talk F1 forever.
I can see, and we can talk
All right.
forever.
Yes. Did you have all your questions?
I even stopped looking. I even stopped looking.
All right.
What's next for you at Motorza TV? What are your hopes and dreams for the channel? Where can people find you? Where can people access your content?
Okay, so we are across all digital platforms. I've been practicing. We're on Twitch, we're on Facebook, we're on Threads, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube.
Okay.
And
Spotify?
no, we're not on Spotify yet. And Apple Podcasts, not yet. There's one more platform though. I know there's 7.
All of it?
X. Yes.
Motorza.
So it's Motorza_TV. That's the handle across all platforms.
Yeah.
That's where you'll find us. In terms of our hopes and dreams, we have short, medium, and long-term objectives. Our short-term objectives is to attend a Formula 1 race.
Yes, I want that for you as well.
Yes, I've never been to a race, neither have any of my team members. So that's our goal for this year. We obviously want to grow our following, because in what you were asking about brands, etc., brands, they look at the numbers.
Yeah.
So
we can't even run away from
yeah.
that anymore.
So our short-term immediate goal is to grow our following, our subscribers, our engagements, in order for brands to start taking notice and investing more.
Yeah. So please do follow Motorza _TV, and let's support Lufefe and get him to the next F1 race. There in person.
Ooh, imagine.
That would be incredible.
It really would. A dream come true.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
This was, enlightening. I might start watching very soon.
Like tomorrow?
Let's talk about that. Guys, thank you so much. I also like to ask you guys to follow me as well, subscribe and like the post, and eventually as the platform grows, you guys can start recommending people that you'd like for me to speak to. I want to give a special shout out to Ndumiso. Mendy Studios is responsible for this episode. And let's close it.
Before you go, I want to say big up to you on this platform. By the way, sorry.
And remember, I
think
told you I want to do this.
Yes, you
and-
told me
and
about
I
it, and I was like,
asking
this
about
is
it.
brilliant. Because this is applicable to any and every person.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anyone else is doing it, but I have not seen it. So this is groundbreaking, and shout out to you. Godspeed, and may you fly as high as you aim.
Thank you so much, guys. We will see you soon. Thank you so much.
Okay, shout out.